Reddit by Reddit recap. What is your best sorry wrong number moment? Woke up to a massive string of texts accusing me of being the man that was cheating with someone's girlfriend or wife. I'm a woman. I didn't work at the place mentioned. They were super apologetic when I text them back in the morning on the plus side. I got a bunch of texts from this guy saying that my brother is sleeping around with married women. So he was contacting every woman who was friends with my brother on Facebook to warn them that he's a player and is probably cheating on them. I asked my brother about it and he was like, he contacted you too. Huh, I slept with his wife way back when we were in high school, nearly 30 years ago, and haven't seen her since. IDK, what's going on with him? Wait, so your brother was in high school with his wife? Was she married in high school? Or was she a married woman fucking a high school kid? It's entirely possible she was unmarried and single when they hooked up and the guy was just batshit crazy. I got a text on my new phone that said, "Wide BB girl?" I replied, "I'm pregnant." Phone rang in like 2 seconds. He was pissed when a guy answered the phone and told me I was in a for making him panic. But don't worry, it's not yours. It's your father's. Happy cake day. That's genius lol. I had something similar happen to me when I got my first phone. Some guy texted me, "Hey, are we going clubbing tonight or what? Hit any up dog?" And since it was around 10 PM and I had school the next morning, because I was like 12 at the time, I decided to ignore it. Then this guy sends me another text saying, "Yo dog, why you holding out on me?" And when I texted him back he said, "Oh shit, sorry." I don't know what this guy's deal was with slag in all caps, but I hope he found his clubbing buddy. Had a few. I got my own cell line once I hit 18. Pretty much. And the number I got used to belong to a woman named Sandra. I know she was pregnant as I had gotten calls from strangers congratulating me on it. And after realizing I had no idea what they were on about, would ask if I had her new number. Dumb request. Emo. But I mostly ignored it. I also got voicemail a few times from her place of work. And one sounded very serious. From what I could gather, she was a nurse, or at least worked at a hospital, and they were trying to get her to cover a shift. I called back trying to be helpful, but the person who answered was mostly annoyed. I got a call within the last year asking to speak about my son and how he's in trouble. I'm assuming the same kid from almost a decade ago is getting into trouble at school. Why they listed such an old number, I don't know. Lastly, I still get calls for her and her husband's prescriptions. No idea how many times I called to correct them. But Franz and Sandra have some set up for auto refill. I haven't gotten a reminder in a few weeks, so maybe a pharmacist spoke to them finally. I had a similar experience. I have the same name as a cardiologist in NYC. I am not a doctor. When I get to my office one Monday morning, there were 3 or 4 messages from some guy who was wheezing and sounded pretty desperate, saying that the medication was not working and made him dizzy. When I called the doctor to let him know, his response was basically, "Why are you bothering me with this nonsense? I am not even in my office today. I will call back the patient on Tuesday if I feel like it." I was so stunned I forget to tell him that he was a flaminger. Or, poor guy, I bet you'd be a better doctor than your named twin. This makes my blood boil. Uck this doctor. Was working retail at a pet store and got a phone call from an old lady asking to pay her phone bill. She said she had been transferred twice now, and yes, this had happened before. I told her I was working on a pet store in Alaska, as to which she was very angry. "How dare you lie to me? I have been talking to phone company in Florida, and now you want me to believe I'm talking to a pet store in Alaska." I told her, "Yep. I have no clue how you got transferred to me, but what is your name and number, and what service are you trying to get done?" She gave me her name and phone number, and told me that she was just trying to pay an overdue bill on a different phone so she could use her phone again. I checked with her to make sure what company she was calling. I told her I need to check something and I'd be right back. I looked up the company on my computer at work, and called. They asked what I wanted and I asked if I could just be transferred to a manager as it would be easier to explain. I explained that I had a customer who had been trying to call and was transferred. The manager knew the account and the lady, and I asked if he could give the gal a call on her landline, which I had gotten. and they agreed they would within a few minutes. I hung up, took the lady off of hold, and told her something akin to, "Hey, so I got the phone company to agree to call your landline and you should be able to pay that way. If they don't follow through, here's my personal cell line, and let me know." She said thanks and hung up. The wholesome Alaskan pet store sounds like a good title for something. I rarely comment, but this was super wholesome. Good on you. One time when I was about 11 years old, my mom wanted me to call my grandma and read off a recipe for pound cake because my grandma wanted to make one. I dialed the number. Someone answered. Then I promptly started reciting the recipe my mom gave me. When I got to the end, the person snorted and said, "Oh, I think you have the wrong number." I said I was sorry and hung up. LOL. This made me laugh out loud. Okay, sherbet, X, flour, sugar. The person on the other end, okay, sherbet, oh, I have the wrong number, don't I? I'll just hang up. Person, no, keep going. I remember getting a wrong number call a few days ago. They introduced themselves in a very intimidating manner, stating that everything spoken over the phone would be recorded and used against me in court. But then they asked for Rebecca and I mentioned that they had the wrong number. Their tone of voice completely changed afterwards and they apologized and hung up. I wonder if the actual Rebecca could have done this to get rid of this caller. It's standard collections tactics. I had one after my brother, who called every member of my extended blood relatives, telling them that the police were on their way to get him. Note, it's illegal to even threaten that, and it's illegal to hassle people like that. I once got a collections agent on my tail because a person who lived in my apartment before me had massive debt and my landlord thought it would be a good idea to give collections my number. Awesome. No matter how many times I told them I wasn't Rachel or whoever they were looking for, they kept calling back at least 4 or 5 times a week. It was the same person calling each time too. They just weren't very smart. Finally they stopped when I said if they ever called me again I would contact the authorities because I am not and never have been Rachel. They love to intimidate but hate when the lawyers turned around on them. Someone kept messaging me looking for a Sarah, to the point where it was fucking annoying. Took a picture of me shirtless, I am fat and build like a fucking gorilla. Lots and lots of body hair. Holding a beer. The next text I got searching for Sarah. I sent it to them. They never messaged back. May you mad lad. Was the Sarah in question a blonde stock photo model from 15 years ago? I follow this YouTuber Max Fosh that went on a wild goose chase the past month trying to find her after owning a pictured frame with her picture as the default for years. For anyone interested, he did find her. Her name's Alana and she didn't want to be found, so that was that. Sounds like the plot of a weird rom-com. When I first got my current phone number, it took about 6 months before all of the previous owner's contacts had called me once and realized he changed numbers. I am 99% sure he sold pot, but he wasn't anyone's go-to dealer. He was the emergency "my usual guy is out. Are you holding? Weed guy." They always had some weird code word for what they wanted, and the time it took me to explain this was my number now. I'll never forget the guy who called up and said, "Yep, my usual guy is out. Man, I'm looking for turtle food. I like turtles. Hey, look, I found Zombie Kid." I like to think this guy was an exclusive turtle food dealer. He's got all the right shit. Fruits that only grow in the Amazon and worms from prehistoric times, because they taste the best to turtles, and some poor bunch of turtles are just eating regular food. Someone phoned my parents' landline, in tears, saying that they had proof that my husband was having an affair with his girlfriend. I explained that I was 14 and my parents were in their 40s. He apologized for having the wrong number and hung up. This was around 17 years ago. Classic grandpa response. I'm thankful grandma's not a E. Honestly, I think she was a little flattered that someone thought that she, or at least the sound of her voice, was attractive enough to steal another woman's husband at her age. Back when I was a kid, we lived 3,000 miles away from our grandparents, so we didn't get to see them very often. One evening the phone rang. I answered and had a really nice chat with my grandma for about 10 minutes. She called me the wrong name to say goodbye and I was confused and we both realized she'd dialed the wrong number. Now you have 2 grandmas. Most people do. OMG, you're right. Didn't even realize, haha. So I guess they have 1 additional grandma now. Area code is 906 and they were likely looking for 907 plus my number, because their call came from 907. I answered and an older woman just starts speaking Spanish so fast. I had no idea she was actually talking at first. I said hello, and she started to repeat herself, but she stopped and I just said sorry, I think you have the wrong number, and she goes and promptly hangs up. This happened 2 more times before she apparently fixed the contact in her phone, lol. Area code 907 is in Alaska. A lot of tech backwards people in Alaska. Not surprised. I live in Alaska. I can confirm this. Ever someone called AT&T's 411 info line and asked for the time of day for Seattle, Washington, they would get connected with my cell phone number. I got so many voicemails of old people who were pissed. I got tired of answering my phone saying IDK they listed my number but the time is 1:30 PM. The AT&T guy thought I was insane trying to explain until I made him call, and when I answered I was like, YPPP, it's me. Somehow Google had my small company's 800 number listed as the number for a Cricket wireless store in Texas. I'd constantly get calls, often from angry customers, and it took weeks to get it fixed. The guy at Google somehow couldn't quite grasp the concept and kept telling me to call Cricket to get it fixed, giving me my number to call. I got really tempted to start telling people they'd won a free iPhone or something just to get the people at the store to pay attention. You really should have, lol. They would have fixed the problem right away. Yeah, but you're really jerking around someone who's only trying to contact their cell phone store. Best comment of the day. When I was in middle school, my parents got me a new phone. I kept getting calls from the same number for about 8 months, so I had had enough. I picked up the phone and this woman was calling from one of the high schools near me and thought I was a teacher there. When I said I wasn't, they asked if I could let the other person talk on the phone cause they assumed I was their kid or something. I had to tell them that I didn't know them, yet they still had the nerve to ask if I could provide this stranger's phone number to them, and they stated that I had to have had it cause this was the number their boss gave them. I had to explain about 5 times that I didn't know who his person was, and then I just hung up and blocked the number cause at this point I gave up on trying.